Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Groves. I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Matthew Merrett. Matt, how you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. Preseason is done now. We are looking ahead to some roster cutdowns and then hopefully a good win in Carolina to get us started for the new season. So excited to get this show back on the road. Preseason's been great to watch. I think everything that we've seen has been pretty impressive from the Jets so far.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing how that kind of translates into the new season.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like, you know, we're recording this the day after the Philly game, and it was, you know, the rain was coming down. You're like, oh, please, guys, have some sense. Like, drop, just no starters, please. Like, let's just get to the regular season, no messing about. And thankfully, you saw the report that also a lot of the starters. I know we had some of the linemen out there, but I guess you want things to run well for the offense and generally for people who are there. But overall, no big injuries. I think we have to see how the fallout of maybe a few little knocks here and there, but overall, nothing too much to report on that front at the moment. So we kind of made it through. So yeah, on this one, we're just going to have very much a kind of a 20-minute chat or so, just our thoughts over last week's game against Green Bay. We never really got to touch on that. We kind of recorded this after Philly, so we'd be able to fold in the Philly game as well. So we'll talk about that as well. Some of obviously the injury news, some of the stuff that broke during the middle of the week, and then we'll just wrap it up with a bit of chat about kind of the UK ticket situation. And you know, now that they went on general sale this past week, so preseason thoughts. Let's go in order. So obviously we had the Green Bay last week. Lost a lot of people. Me and David recorded about the Carl Lawson situation, but before the game. But the game was a great way of kind of washing the bad taste out of our mouths because Zach looked really, really good. I know it's preseason and second stringers and all the things you can throw in there, but you know, like I said to some people, it's like, you know, whatever competition he's up against, whether it was college, they say they doubted it. Now it's second string, they doubt it again. But he's always showing well. Well, obviously what he does in the regular season. But yeah, a really good showing from number 2, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out for me was just the poise that he displayed in the pocket. One of the things that was perhaps a criticism or an unknown of him coming out of BYU was his offensive line there was so good. They were comfortably the best position group on the field and he didn't have that pressure in his face too much. But against Green Bay, he showed control in the pocket. He showed his footwork to be able to move around the pocket. And when he had those pressures in his face, defensive linemen, corners coming in off the edge line rushers, he was controlled, he was consistent, and he got the ball out quick. And I think that's where his quick release makes such a difference because you see him and his throwing motion is so fast and almost elasticated, the way you can just pop the ball out and find his man. I mean, there was, of course, that really nice play where they kind of, as Zach admitted himself, mucked up on the play action and the running back was lined up on the wrong side and Zach starts drifting to the left and his footwork to bring himself back round to the other hash, deliver an on-the-money strike to Corey Davis to move the chains was just exactly everything that made you and I so high on him in the drafting process.
That's what you wanted to see, right? It was that first. Where's that first throw that we're going to see from him? You know, hopefully in preseason, that's going to be that wow throw, that BYU Zach that we saw in last year, especially last season's play. But it was showed throughout his tape throughout the years, even in the previous years. Where it's part of his game. He's just got a great feel for, you know, improvising, and it was just a great way because sometimes these things will happen. He'll make a mistake there, others will make mistakes, and the fact that he can work within the pocket and do things great at a really great level there, but then he has the ability to get out and make things move, and actually can be even more dangerous when he does that. It's just really exciting, and I mean to play that against with his hero Rodgers on the other sideline and a guy you can. I mean, everyone's been trying to put a kind of a type, or you know, who's his comp in the NFL. I always said for a long time it was Aaron Rodgers, because he's just, you know, he's more like Aaron Rodgers to say like a Mahomes, which obviously Mahomes is the big name right now, which people like to say, and obviously there's some there as well. But it's really Rodgers. I saw, and you see in their body type, they've similar stature, and they have similar kind of pocket and out of the pocket mobility and ability there. So no. It's really, really good so far. Obviously, let's see what happens. Once the regular season starts. You know, Carolina have got some good defensive weapons. Brian Burnett's off the edge. So we'll see what happens week one, but for now, it's pretty good. It also we kind of saw Corey Davis really step up as legitimate leading receiver for this team, as a guy who can at least take that role. Obviously, we need to see what Elijah Moore brings, but to know that Davis offers that, and then you add Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims, and obviously Elijah Moore and Jamison Crowder, it is really really good to see. But yeah, Corey Davis, he had a really impressive game against the Packers as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think this has to be your notification. If you're not already considering it, you have to get Corey Davis in those later rounds in fantasy drafts if he's still there. He is being targeted so much. You can see the kind of relationship he's been able to develop with Zach already, that when it's those third downs, those tricky throws, the ones where they need to get a completion, that's where Zach is looking, and that's also where Mike LaFleur is scheming the ball to go to get Corey, because they obviously have so much trust in him, and that is exactly what you want to see when you go out and spend that kind of money on a free agent. I think his route running has probably been better than I anticipated. I knew he was talented from what I saw in Tennessee, but he also married that with his big body and huge catch radius. But I think just looking at his footwork and his route running so far, it's been so precise. The ability to get open is so impressive. There was that first third down completion against Green Bay where he got an outside release and he just waited, and then as soon as the option was open, stepped inside, and his explosiveness out of that cut was so smooth that it just allowed Zach to find him perfectly without having to put too much on the ball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good to see Corey Davis hopefully take another step forward in his career. You see, he's got a very good mentality from that second episode of One Jets Drive. And so hopefully, he takes that next step even up from where he had a really good season in his final one in Tennessee. So, and that's only to our benefit and to Zach's as well. The defense on that game, I know we were missing a few people on the start, people like Quinnen, obviously major people like Quinnen and JFM, but there was quite a lot of projected starters playing against, was it Ben Kirk? Was it? I forgot his name now.
Yeah, that's the one.
The third stringer for the Packers, and a second string team around him. In terms of the line and the weapons. They rested 32 starters, I believe, 32 players. The Packers, so it was proper backups to backups really, and we had some starters out there. Did it show some concern that we started the game like that?
I think it's the same concerns that we've had all pre-season in terms of there are a lot of unknowns in that defense, particularly even more so now that Jared Davis has gone down. And I think that is the approach of the team, is that this team in the secondary in particular are going to take some knocks and there are going to be some growing pains this season. And I think what we saw against Green Bay was probably representative of what a lot of our games may end up looking like, particularly on that back half with wide receivers getting open, unfortunately. I think it's the right way to build a team, and obviously we know how bad the Jets roster was last season. So I think we've just got to kind of anticipate that there will be some lumps to take this season. But hopefully guys like Brandon Eccles, Jason Pinnock, Javelin Guidry, Michael Carter II, they continue to kind of grow and develop and they become better for these experiences. And I think that's all we can really ask for, is just to kind of see over the course of the season, to see these guys gel and get better and stronger as a unit.
Yeah, I definitely... If you're going to build it, you build around your QB and that side of the ball. And if you lose games, you lose them, 28-37 or 28-34. So put up some points. You do give up a lot of points, and then you can back up, because I think that's the way to really, round things out, is to kind of protect the most important asset and really get him moving, and then that will be built on in second year as well. And the defensive players can be improved on over time to kind of bring up to a point where they're good enough to hold up a match, a really good offense. Hopefully, that's been building from years from the rookie year onwards. So I think that's the right way, and it's obviously a different way than what we've seen. And I've actually been saying, like, if we're mediocre going forward in our rebuild, please let us put some points up and lose games in like, I can't stand these 10 to 13 losses and stuff. Like, get out of here. Like, we've had it for like so many years. So yeah, I guess it's, if you're going to take it, you take it this way. You mentioned Jared Davis. We'll flip it to the Philly game after this, but Jared, just a bit of note, as you mentioned, Jared Davis being out. Obviously, he's out till they say roughly our week 6 bye after the Falcons game in London. So obviously, Damian Sherwood will be filling in next to Mosley. So Mosley's going to have, he's going to have Nasruddin on one side, Sherwood on the other side. How are you feeling about that?
This is probably the bigger one. I'm almost more worried about the linebackers now than the cornerbacks, because they are so light on the ground. And I wonder if there is someone like a KJ Wright who's still out there on free agency.
He is there, isn't he? It would make sense.
Looked at, just to bring a bit more experience into this room, because I think, considering Mosley hasn't played for 2 years, there is an awful lot of pressure on him to kind of get back to what we know he can be as a player, but then also to kind of marshal that defense and think about the calls, the checks, all of those little intricacies, which I believe Jared Davis was going to be doing, and I'm presuming that's passed to Mosley now.
Right.
In terms of the defensive play calling on the field. So I think there's an awful lot of pressure on him to kind of get that right. Considering he hasn't been on the field for 2 years, could be a bit of a worry to kind of have that pressure as well as getting himself up to speed. So I do wonder if that's something that they look, and it might be with the upcoming weeks with camp cuts, that there's someone from Philadelphia or San Francisco, perhaps, that the guys know that they're looking at.
Yeah, there may be someone that's cut, and maybe they want to compare a KJ Wright with someone who's cut. Depending, maybe go, okay, we're interested in him, maybe. But maybe there's someone that they think may be cut that might be give them more upside, maybe long term. So I think it's interesting, but I definitely feel like another body in there, a bit of experience would be good. Even if you want to start off with Sherwood, it's good that if he's struggling, or even Hamza or anyone, it's good to be able to have some backups that can come in and kind of help out if the guys are struggling. Sherwood showed in the Philly game, a little bit of his kind of limitations, a little bit, where he is very good at dissecting what's happening and kind of diagnosing what's happening, but he just has, his athleticism is just a little bit lacking, where he kind of misses the play by that much because of that. Yeah. Even so, he's really good at diagnosing, which gets him there, but he can't quite finish it because he's not quite good enough in that. So that's what you think, and that's what was kind of, when you look at his film, that's what showed up, and it's kind of unfortunately shown up there. So hopefully that improves even more. Obviously, he's still a rookie, he can still do better from a cerebral point of view. Maybe that makes a difference, but yeah, definitely a vet, one way or the other, either a backup or someone who slots in at starter would be welcome. So with the we jumped on to, we'll talk about the Philly game now. So that was pretty much a really exciting finish. Pretty hype finish to the last preseason. It's the hypest finish to the last preseason game that I've seen for a long time. Where
it was insane.
You have the Daniel Brown fumble that gets them. You're chasing the score. You get Daniel Brown fumble that gives them the score, but you're still within a 2-point conversion to tie the game. And and a Hail Mary play to Yeboah, and then drives in with Josh Adams. I mean, I think I said to you before the podcast, is that Yeboah over Brown and maybe even Josh Adams over P. Ryan? I don't know if that makes a difference, but those two things. I mean, I thought Yeboah looked pretty good on some other plays. Obviously, he had the touchdown as well, and he had that other throw down the left side as well, where it was a great flashy throw from Morgan actually. I thought Yeboah looked pretty promising actually, and I think I would take him over someone like Daniel Brown. And I've always been a big fan of Josh Adams as a guy who really just plows forward and gets his extra yards, and I don't know, I'll personally take him over P. Ryan. What's your thoughts on those two battles before we get?
Yeah, I think they looked really impressive yesterday, didn't they? That was definitely the best that we've seen of Yeboah, kind of the player that we saw at Ole Miss, kind of being able to stretch the seam and get up the field, and then make the catches. He had safe hands. His catch on the Hail Mary in particular to kind of get in amongst that crowded group of bodies and kind of come down with the ball. It was impressive. And Josh Adams, he's just a nasty runner, isn't he? And I think it is between him and Pirine for that kind of that bruiser, that kind of short yardage situation, running back, and it kind of depends who they want to go to because I think both have their merits. I think what really stood out for me yesterday's game was just and it's kind of been a consistency throughout preseason, but the offensive play calling has been so much better, and we are putting players in the right situation. I just wanted to touch on this quickly. There was a couple of examples of this yesterday, and I just think this kind of shows the how much progress we've made going from someone like Gase and Loggins to
it's a different game, isn't it? It's just a different game. We're watching a different sport almost, like from what we saw at Gate, or it's from a different era. It's like we're watching something from 20 years ago, and now we're watching something that's just absolutely fresh and modern. It's like it is light years ahead.
And I think that was really brought to life. There were a couple of instances where the Philadelphia edge defenders, the defensive ends, were kind of sneaking in and getting quite tight because they were getting that push up the middle. And Lafleur, whenever that started happening a couple of plays in a row, he did an end around. He got Smith going on one direction. There was a second one to, I can't remember who it was to, but just to keep those defensive ends honest and open, because both times they called them, they got 10-yard gains on them because of the fact the ends were sneaking around. And I think that is just such clever play calling that we haven't seen before. It's also interesting that Lafleur's been down on the sidelines to call these plays in preseason, which is not what we were expecting. He's said that he prefers being up in a booth to kind of call the plays, but I think there was an article on how Salah had asked him to just come down onto the sideline to
give it a go,
preseason, just to see exactly what how he found it. So that's been interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes.
I think he was in the box for the Packers game, I believe, and then he was on the sideline for the Eagles game, if I'm not mistaken. So that gives him a bit of a mixture
on what he likes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think yesterday, as we said, the ending was so exciting for a preseason game. But you could see what it meant to the players and how they reacted. They obviously cared. Salah obviously cared, and it meant something to them, with players running onto the field to kind of celebrate and congratulate their teammates. Even though you're competing with these guys for roster spots at the moment, there is this real sense of unity, of team, of identity.
It's a very good
that we
spirit,
haven't had
isn't
before.
it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's really good to see that they kind of, even though there is competition. I said I don't know if there was a shot of Daniel Brown during the end of the game, because he might have been the one person who was pretty was like head in hands when Yeboah caught that, and it's just oh great, like I did the fumble, and then Yeboah basically did a lot in the game already, and then kind of undid that, and kind of Daniel Brown didn't get the chance to kind of rectify his mistakes. So we'll see how that plays out in terms of the roster cuts. So the Philly game, I think it was obviously great that it was rained out, so we just got to see the backups. I think that's how it should have been anyway. I was nervous about playing the starters, but that kind of helped us out in a sense. So in terms of injury, another injury. I know we talked about Jared Davis in between the two games, but we were going to talk about injuries in this part. And obviously, it's the Vinny Curry situation. He was obviously diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. They got that fixed, but he has some clotting, so he's now obviously been able to have to sit out for the season. Obviously we wish him the best, and hopefully it makes a full recovery, and hopefully we still see him. He's still got some stuff left in the tank, and hopefully we see him next year. But I don't know I believe it was a 1-year deal, so I'm not sure how he stands in terms of his roster spot for next season. But in terms of the pass rushing unit, now that we've lost him and we've lost obviously Carl Lawson, what's your thought process in terms of who should we go for? Maybe do you like someone on the free agent market? Maybe a trade? You're looking for maybe a potential cut? What's your thoughts about that?
I think as you say, we obviously wish Vinny the best, and I think it's by all accounts it sounds like it's a great thing that the Jets were able to find this out, because it sounded like it could have turned nasty quite quickly. So I think first and foremost that's what it is. And in terms of how they deal with it, I think all of the things that you and David spoke about last week when we kind of were dissecting the Carl Lawson situation still stand. I'm sure Joe Douglas is going to have his ear to the ground in terms of potential cuts coming up. I know there was the Adam Schefter tweet in terms of the Jets are exploring things. I think that's probably more in terms of keeping their ear to the ground and seeing, say, a team's thinking of cutting someone, they might phone up the Jets and say, we're going to cut this. Would you like first dibs on this player? Because we have 3 6-rounders in next year's draft, as opposed to going after a big fish like a Chandler Jones.
Yeah.
So that's certainly my expectation for how that could play out. I think what we're going to see is the Jets are really going to try and prioritise the interior rush with people like Sheldon Rankins and Quinnen Williams in the season now, whereas before there was that emphasis on getting around the side. So hopefully those guys in the middle can kind of replicate and give us that pass rush that we need and push us forward. And then hopefully there should be some camp cuts that we can kind of identify.
Yeah, I think like the situation at linebacker, I think you see what's out there, you see what's on the trade market, you see what gets cut, and then you make a choice in terms of what value you want to put in and the type of player that you're going to get in return. So it may be that we do a trade for someone, and it's worth it. I just hope it's someone it's a bit more long term. I'm not a big fan of the Chandler Jones situation just because I just don't think. I think it's big value, and potentially I don't like the long term upside of it for a team that are not ready to compete now. So yeah, I think it's if we can get someone who's pretty young, maybe still finish off their rookie contract or something like that, still pretty young, that would be pretty good. But yeah, I think it's Joe Douglas and this team, I'm sure, are scouring all the rosters for all different positions, whether it be cornerback or the linebacker or pass rusher or anywhere really. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens between now and the Carolina game. Just to wrap up the show, we obviously had the tickets finally went on general sale, so everyone has had a turn to try to get their tickets to the game at Tottenham Stadium on the 10th of October. I'm really happy to see a lot of the people that that we see on Twitter were able to get the tickets. I know you were able to get tickets on general sale. I had one as spare in case you weren't, so that all members of the podcast would be able to be there, because it would be silly if we weren't. But I'm happy that you got yours with your mates. You said you had a few 2 cents to throw on this subject. So what do you want to say about it, Matt?
Well, I was kind of going to echo what you've just said. It's great to see so many people got their tickets. It was a bit of a minefield trying to time the ticket queue so you're in it at 9:30 to make sure you're front of the line. But it's great to see so many Jets fans getting tickets. It should be a great day out. I think everyone is excited to kind of get them over to the UK. It's been a while since they've been here. I think it was Ryan Fitzpatrick who was quarterbacking for us last time they were here, so that kind of shows how long it's been. It should be really exciting, and hopefully we're able to meet some of our listeners, kind of chat before the game, have a beer, see people after, and just kind of hopefully get a big Jets win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's going to be lots of events happening. I mean, I'm currently working on a few events that might happen on the Friday night of the weekend. And on the Sunday, I know I was speaking to Olivia, who runs the Twitter account, the Jets UK, UK and Ireland Twitter group. She's going to be doing an event pre-game on the Sunday. So there's lots of things going to be happening on. And so, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for all the announcements for stuff that weekend as we get a bit closer. But it's really, really, really good to meet everyone, all the listeners, all the people we've been chatting with on Twitter, interacting with. It'll be really, really good weekend. So, Matt, if anything you want to say to sign off?
No, just ready to get some regular season football back and see where Zach and Salah can take us this season. It'll be great to keep going with these podcasts now that we've got some proper football back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really fun to actually dissect some real games and have the emotion coming off those games, positive or negative. It's going to make for really good stuff. So yeah, really happy we're past the preseason. The game against Carolina can't come quick enough. I'm really excited to get to that game and to really see what Zach can do against first teamers, so we can finally hopefully break that narrative that everyone wants to keep on putting on him. But anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the content. If you listen to this one, obviously we've done the AFC East roundtable that I conducted with guys from that support the teams, know those teams really well. Just to kind of a chat about our division rivals going into this season. It was really good chat the other night. That's also up on our YouTube channel. So yeah, just check that out, and hopefully. There's no more injuries in any training stuff like that, and we just get to Carolina, safe and sound, and we rock and roll. So we will see you. We'll have a bit of a chat next week, just kind of wrapping up and previewing the season, and we'll have a chat with a person from the Carolina Panthers, kind of fans in the UK as well, to kind of preview the game against the Panthers. So have a good weekend, have a good week, and we'll see you next week.